24 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. How far so far?
Well, when we talk about political stability, it all depends on who the president or the head of the administration is. When we talk about head of an administration, then we can talk about the cabinet, he or she forms. The beginning of democracy since 1999, we started with Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. And to the best of my knowledge, he performed creditably well.
Really?
And because, you know, when he came on board, we were thinking that the military would come and seize power after a while. But you know, as a former military personnel, he knew what he should do. And he did all that. Even when he travels, there is confidence in Atiku himself that nobody will take over this government. So based on that...
Is that your yardstick for measuring his performance?
You know, not only that, there are other things. I'm just looking at it. What normally brings interruption to democracy is coup and counter-coup. So I am telling you now that we started with Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and he has performed. If I have to put other things which I consider normal or necessary, right, I can tell you, yes, he left no bill untouched. He paid our debts. He was quick enough to start his cabinet. Right, that was then. Right, but I can also tell you, when we talk about political stability, we have somebody like Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the current president of Nigeria, who is politically inclined and with a stable mind. He knows what to do and how to do it. So without much ado, he formed this government. So stability will only come when you put the square peg in the square hole, when you put the appropriate people in the appropriate position. Like we have serious economic problem in Nigeria. And if we look at it very well, you see, this new administration had brought in somebody like Mr. Olawale Edun as Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister for Economy. You see, he's a very competent man. He has worked severally in some banks. I think he equally had a stay with IMF and so on. So he knows what to do, and he has started very well. So what I know now, for now, there can be few things that are not in place. There can be very few things that are not in place, but then we should give kudos to Nigerians for being able to storm the weather. Because if the masses had not actually supported the government will fall. But to the best of my knowledge, I want to recognize the masses. I want to give kudos to them because they were able to storm the weather.
You know, a strike was averted just today. So it looks like it's not everybody that is very happy with the administration, but we are still standing, right? There was something you said about this present administration. This federal government, our current president, has been doing his best to woo foreign investors into the country. What do you think about that?
Oh, good God. You see, for the mere fact that we are bringing in investors, that's for as much as we have started bringing in investors, or this government have started bringing in investors, I can tell you seriously that even bringing in more investors from foreign countries will help our Naira. It will help the power of our Naira. So instead of going down, it won't dwindle down. The Naira will be stable too, as soon as we have many companies coming in. In those days, you have Leventis, you have Kingsway, you have UAC, you have Dunlop, you have all these multinational companies. But where are they today? Even Guinness Nigeria had packed out of Nigeria. Guinness, they have packed out. So there are a lot of things that are missing. So we need more investors in Nigeria. And that is what the present administration is doing right now.
All right. Let me take this to you at DBC. From Balewa to Tinubu, 16 leaders since independence from colonial rule. How has Nigeria fared in your estimation?
Yes, I think we are not doing badly. We might not be where we ought to be, but we are not doing badly if we holistically look at how we have progressed as a nation from the times of Balewa, from the times of the regional government, which in my opinion remains one of the best kind of government because it made the leaders more accountable. Regions were growing at their own pace, and there was good competition within the regions. We built universities. We had a TV station even before France under Chief Obafemi Awolowo. So we're growing. The militaries came, they interrupted, and typical of their nature, they plundered the nation's resources. They were playing with the whole thing. And as an aberration, investors don't have confidence because they are not a stable government. Down the road to when Chief Olusegun Obasanjo took over, we started to experience some form of confidence from the international communities. Investors started coming in. Obasanjo was very good at what he wanted to do. He created institutions. Those institutions helped to stabilize EFCC, the ICC. So many institutions were created that started to give us the kind of form and structure that will enable us to play in the global game. And then because of that, you see that investors started having confidence. The telecom sector had more MTN, Glo. I mean, we're able to do all what we're doing now because of the huge investments that these guys brought into our country. The banking sector, that's what we do, was structured. And then those banks were held there. They could do so much. Infrastructures were built some infrastructures were built. Agric was a big focus. I remember the Fadama projects, Fadama 1, Fadama 2, irrigations were built in the parts of the north to allow all-season farming. So we had started to recover as a nation. We continued years. We've had some glitches and hitches here and there, but I think we are progressing. Now we're in the era of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and it's very clear the direction he has chosen and taken. He wants a vibrant economy, like what happens in Lagos, to be replicated all across the country, so that we can improve, investments can come in, we can improve on our infrastructure, we can gain more confidence from the international communities. They can bring resources into our economy, so our naira can play comfortably well. But I have a little bit of what I consider a caveat here. I think Nigeria has gotten to where we must prospect and build local industries to become multinational. This frenzy, this love for bringing in international community, most of them will do portfolio kind of investments. At the end, they might even leave. At the end, they might sell. But if we're able, we have the market, and we have the capacity, and we have the human resources. If we're able to look inward and grow our local industries to play, I mean, this is what happened in Japan. This is what the Asian Tigers did. They shut their borders. They looked inward. Today, look at China. Anything you want can be produced in China because of this kind of policy. But I understand in the short run that we might need some of these investments, yes, to make our naira strong. But in the long run, for us to enjoy the stability that democracy have brought, we must begin to grow our local industries and our investors so that they can compete in the global stage. That is when we can truly be the giant that we are. So for me, Nigeria is making reasonable good progress. It might not be as fast as we want. We might have some pullbacks, corruptions and all of that, policy somersaults, but I think we're moving. And if we believe in this and we look and we sincerely look forward to a great nation and all hands are on deck, I think in a very short period of time we will just break the ceiling, and the whole world will pay more attention to us as a nation.
All right, you're taking us deeper into this topic, Adebisi. Thank you so much. So you've talked about the love for foreign investors. I'm going to have Felix here react to that in a short while. But you've talked about the love for foreign investors. How about the love Nigerians have got for, foreign goods? Will Nigerians patronize made in Nigerian goods if you have them in the first place?
Yes, they will. I just use an illustration. In the 80s, we had all the textiles we needed here. And Nigerians were buying our textile products. And then suddenly we began to play this politics of foreign this, foreign that. And the textiles, gradually, they were killed here. But guess what? China had over 50 textiles, producing all sorts of uniform and what have you. Their target market is Nigeria. If you look at an estimate of ordinary school uniform for our children, it's over 50 million yards. That will mean that you need like 10 textiles to meet the uniform need of our schools. But we don't have a textile here. And so if we have here, it will be patronized. And the truth is, these textiles in China provide over 20 million jobs, direct and indirect. Imagine creating that, half of that number of textiles in Nigeria and creating only 10 million jobs, direct and indirect. And these are jobs that are sustainable because children will keep coming to go to school. Children will graduate and go to secondary schools, and all of this value, the value chain in this area, it brings it enough. And all the materials we need can be sourced locally. So Nigerians will patronize themselves. They will. It's just that we have closed that gap, and then we have tuned our perception and our love for foreign goods. I mean, what is the quality of some of the goods that are imported that we buy? We ourselves know they are inferior quality. So if we have factories here, these factories that are shutting down and going to Ghana and all of the other places, are we still not going to patronize them? Were we not patronizing them before the landscape became very harsh for them to operate? So I believe that once we focus and we have a national policy that is strictly made in Nigerian focus, and it is driven by our leaders, what we wear, what we eat, some of the things we need for our daily is purely made in Nigeria. Dangote salt is everywhere. We buy it. Sugar, Dangote sugar is everywhere. We buy it. The cements we use are produced from Nigeria. We buy it. So if we drive this policy down and our leaders show example by driving this policy, it will just get all our neighboring countries will first patronize. Then we can capture the entire Africa, and then we can play in the United States. So I truly believe that if we have a national policy that is focusing on local products, investors will come in. Furnitures and all of this, we don't need to import them. We have the woods here. We have wonderful carpenters. But it's just government policy. You have a policy today that encourages it. Another president comes in, and for whatever reason, he turns it upside down. Then people start to import again. Another one, we have to be consistent, and then we can have a Nigeria play at the global stage, in my opinion.
Fantastic. Let me come back to you, Felix. You know, Adebisi talked about empowering local players to become multinationals. I'd like for you to react to that.
Yes. You see, if you want to encourage local players, we must start with the micro and small scale industries. The government should provide funds that will make all these small scale industries to approach them for loans, right? We have, in Abeokuta, we have a direct textiles that is individually produced. We can bring them together to form alliance, and then they become bigger. Even these China people that we are talking about, China started with fake products, less inferior products, right? But now, today, they have improved. We must start from somewhere. So the government should encourage small-scale industries.
So I'm saying, if you're going to start from somewhere, it wouldn't even be commendable to start with fake or inferior products, right? Why don't you just go for gold?
Yeah, I am not saying that we should go for fake.
I just wanted us to make that very clear.
No, I'm not saying we should go for fake products, but I know if the government can finance some of this enterprise and stay with them firmly, the industries will perform beautifully well.
Absolutely.
So there is no room for fake product, but we can start. I have cited Adire in Abeokuta. Go there, you will see them performing. Like Adebisi said, textile industries are already down in Nigeria now, and the government should do something about it.
Let's talk about policy somersaults that DBC talked about earlier on, how this government will come with a policy, goes out, another one comes, overturns it, and he alluded to the fact that it affects the nation's economy. What's your take?
Yeah, he is very correct. If you look at, and the problem is this, our politicians easily jump from one party to the other.
Okay, right?
Alhaji Abubakar Atiku had jumped about 4 or 5 times from, so they are not stable. What most of these politicians wanted is that I just want to be in table where the food is served. They are not actually interested in what to be given to the masses or to the country, right? And so they jump from one place to the other. We are talking about the achievement of Tinubu the other time, that what he did in Lagos State. In fact, he was unable to complete what he wanted to do in Lagos State. But because Tinubu had a blueprint on ground, and when he was handing over to Fashola, he gave him the blueprint. This is what you must follow. And they are gradually exercising the whole thing, right? They look, when Fashola left, Ambode came, he was under the same blueprint, right? Look at Sanwo-Olu came, this blue line train, this light train. Look at it when they started. They started it during the time of Tinubu, but today it has come to stay through Sanwo-Olu. So it is a matter of having a blueprint and understanding between one another, right? If they have that political understanding that, look, when Tinubu leaves, the other person will stand with him and begin to study or understudy the blueprint, then achievement will come.
Let me take us back to Adebisi, because I really want for you to address this. So Felix said earlier on that cross-carpeting is responsible for a lack of continuity in governance. Do you agree?
Of course, it's very correct, because ideology, leaders drive ideology. Visions are battered by leaders, and then they show direction. Now, if a particular party believes that we need to grow an economy in this direction, and you join that party, and by joining that party means you believe in the ideology, and tomorrow you are in another party that believes that, yes, to get to this destination, you see, they all want to get to a particular destination, but the routes are different. So whoever has the better understanding is the best of it all. Now let me come down to this administration. Now, you see, what the current president is doing, you can readily perceive, you can see that he understands what his focus is on the economy. And that is why some of the ministries he has created are ministries that conservatively we are not used to. What is blue marine? We don't know all of these things. But when he showed the direction, people started to see that we were sitting on another different kind of gold mine in that sector that can really help to turn around our economy. So you have a leader now that is very clear about his vision. Now, he's laying the foundation. If he drives this thing to a particular point and just needs additional maybe years, after 4 or 8 years, to push it through, and a leader comes in and jettisons all of that, he'll be taking us to square one. Then we'll start to move again, and remember, what you abandon does not grow. So if you now abandon this particular one, it begins to decay. You know, we played with Ajaokuta until it got to where it is now. No single leader wanted to realize that, look, this is the bedrock of our industrial revolution. So everybody comes in, and the next thing is they go for Chinese, they go to sign huge contracts that it's very mind-blowing when you see the contract value and then what it achieves. And so if we don't have that kind of consistency from our leaders, the little achievement we have had now is because we have been consistent with our democracy. The other bigger chunk of it is if we are consistent with our policy. When His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu was talking about the things we see in Lagos today, some people could not comprehend it. Nobody knew it can happen. But because they have been consistent, fixing the blocks, internally generating the resources they need for this, laying the foundation, you will see that subsequently the governors that are coming in and are running with this blueprint are beginning to deliver these things. The seaports, the refineries you see in Lagos, all of these things, they are riding on the consistency of the governance that the architect himself the architect has provided. And if they continue like that, Lagos is gradually becoming, it's already a self-sustaining economy. It's going to play in the big league, even though it is a state within Nigeria.
All right, DBC, let's talk about the tough love between government and organized labor. I mean, a strike was averted today, and labor said, we are giving you 30 days to implement some of the promises you made, mainly about cushioning the effect of the removal of subsidy, which has spilled over into, you know, lots of hardship in the country. What's your take on this, though? While you're giving us your take, let's also make recommendations as we drive towards the end of the show.
So for me, I would love to ask the labor leaders what exactly they represent and what they stand for. It's easy. What exactly do you represent and what do you stand for? The only time you get to see labor is when there's a distortion, or when government is going through a particular route, the labor, they come out with all of their muscles. When we have the stability, what exactly, apart from the workers, what exactly has labor themselves instituted as their core contribution as a union? So, and then it clearly shows at times that labor does not familiarize themselves with the government in power when they strike, because the part of the voting populace, we must remember, are members of the labor union. So if we have voted for His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I mean, we should be able to trust him enough to help drive his processes. The things that we're going through now might not, they are not even, he met some of these things, well, internally and the global recession, and then the best he can do is to try and fix them. We all agree that the decisions he made, the strong decisions he made, will save this country, so we don't go bankrupt. Labor ought to see that. And then they are systematically trying to bring in the palliatives. They don't want to rush it. I mean, we've had these things in the past where we did SureP, and please, let me ask, where are those elements of SureP today? Are they still functioning? If those elements were functioning and built upon, even if we remove subsidy today, we will have improved on those ones and drive forward. So, in a rounding up, my suggestion is that, one, Nigerians, let us believe in our country. We have all it takes. We have the resources, we have the human and the mineral resources. We have a blessed country that we can work. We need to believe in this current administration now. Believe in everything they have told us they are able to, and then support them to do it. Because if we do not, at this point, come together as one, if some people are pulling down, some people are pushing up, then we will not make them. They might not make all the best decisions, but if they make most good decisions, then we will have moved some good pace and then go forward. So first, let me commend the unionists for shelving their strike, because it will only worsen an already bad situation. And then let's begin to allow and engage the government and point to the direction that they must go. But labor must take their activities beyond the solidarity march every time. They must become, they themselves, a policy, they must be able to suggest policies to government and make them public. So we see that, yes, they too, they have this direction and this contribution they want to make to nation building.
All right, let me bring it back to the studio here, Felix. I don't know if you want to react to that, because I got a question for you. Do you want to react?
Let me hear your question.
Okay, so you have been in a position of leadership, and you still are at the grassroots level. You know, when the people are not happy, I mean, you don't say a government is successful, right? Based on the threats by labor on and off to go on strike, it shows a discontent in a group of, you know, a cross-section of the nation. How do you address this so that you make these disgruntled people happy?
Well, I don't even believe that there's anybody that is disgruntled.
Really?
Because
in the country right now?
Yes. Do you know, it is the policy that makes them look like that. You will be disgruntled when a bad policy comes out, right? For instance, let me quickly tell you, during the inauguration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that was the day he announced the removal of subsidy
Yeah, what happened when he made that announcement?
And immediately, the country was almost going into flame. Right? Right?
Yeah.
So, because it has never happened to us. Now, what happened? The fuel price was skyrocketed.
And fares.
And transport fare goes up.
Market
so
goods.
Everything you buy, you now have to pay 100% increase. Now, you see, it was because we didn't plan for the fuel removal, the subsidy removal. And mind you, President Bola Tinubu is not a magician.
Okay.
And even as at that time, he has not set up his cabinet. Right? So, but as time goes on, they embark on advocacy. They're advising people, just give us time. With little time, we will get there. We will do this. Everybody start begging the populace. So, you know, but in order to cushion up the economy, the effect of the economy on the masses, right? The government should start some programs now, right? I remember during the time of Alhaji Lateef Jakonde in Lagos State, when he built all these low-cost houses. You know, he called some of these artisans and he allocated the houses to them. But I'm beginning to wonder why government cannot fund free education, free health, free uniforms, and something like that. Is, you know, I'm beginning. And Jakonde did it. Go to everywhere now. Artisans, they were buying houses there, right? But
you know, these low-cost houses you're talking about,
yeah?
Some of these government-funded houses these days, a civil servant cannot afford it.
Yes. You see, how do you expect somebody who is earning less than 30,000 naira to pay for a house that is built by the government?
And that is priced at very...
And the only thing you will not hear, before you can get a house in Lagos, or you say 17 million, 15 million, who will afford it?
Yeah.
So the government should look into that and do something about that.
Fantastic.
They should be able to give affordable houses to people. Secondly, health can be given free. During the time of Jakonde, we were going to hospitals free.
Really?
Yeah.
You benefited?
Yeah, I benefited. During the time of Alhaji Jakonde, I went to free education at all levels. Right? Even as at the time, some couple of years back now, LASU was just 25,000 naira. I think it was when Fashola came on board that he increased it. Right? So there are other things you can give to the masses. There is this compressed natural gas buses. Get them in so that the transport fare can go down. If we have this natural gas buses around, it will cushion the economy. It will help the masses, right? Even people will not go to work with almost all the time with their cars. You understand me now? Yes, you look into that. You see, this government are done something. They are so pragmatic, right? Right. Even like I said, I know Mr. Wale Edun very well, right? He believes in accountability. And this is somebody who will tell you, you cannot force him to pay you what you have not done. If you sign anything for him that's okay, I have done it, he will go and inspect it.
So you're talking about transparency and accountability.
And accountability.
Fantastic.
So you see, and then the government, in order to help the masses again, they should remove VAT from some products, right? Look at the rate at which diesel is going up, kerosene. Look at it. These are things that are necessary or necessarily used by the masses.
Which is some of the things the president addressed in his speech to Nigerians on the 1st of October, for a period of time of about 6 months or so. Are you done recommending? Because I would like to...
Yes, they should remove it. They should remove VAT. In fact, and you see, those who are dealing directly with the public, most especially the National Union of Road Transport Workers, all these people, the government should engage them.
Engage? What do you mean?
Yes. The two associations I mentioned now, they are not stable, they are not in good terms.
There's no synergy.
Yes. So what I think should be done is that, you know, Lagos is a very delicate state.
How do you mean?
Yes, because anything that comes out of Lagos will go around the whole country.
To spill over.
Yes, and then in order for it not to happen, so the government, most especially of Sanwo-Olu, should get a committee to handle the difference between the road transport operators and make sure there is sanity amongst them. So you understand me now? So, you know, there are other things that is necessary to be done.
Yeah, so let me have Adebisi react to some of these things you've already mentioned. Adebisi, so Phyllis here talked about low-cost buildings, and he advised, he recommended that government should invest in these houses. What do you think, though, about what he just said and some of the other recommendations he made?
Most of the recommendations he made are even enshrined in the Constitution. The Constitution guarantees that government we must have education free to some level. So there's a violation of the Constitution if government, or there's a breach of trust if the government is not educating its society. Because if the crisis we have today, some of them can be traced to the gap in education. If the people are properly educated, they will be able to discern good from evil to a reasonable extent. And that will reduce the number of those who will want to be criminals. And then we can deal with the issue. In the north, most of these issues, you see the impact, the lack of education in it. And that's why most of their governments are now laying emphasis, encouraging child education. In the area of investment, I totally agree that we need to look at the value-added system, the VAT system. If you go to Cotonou, there are some of their traders that are exempted from VAT just to keep them in business. And guess what? Their business is even targeted at Nigerian market. So if they can do it there, even in Nigeria, there's a document we call, I don't know if it's still in operation, Pioneer Status, that was used to woo investors. All the kind of incentives we gave to the investors that might want to benefit from it. Can we give our local people? Can we bring all our artisans together and establish strong cooperatives so that they can have access not only to funds, but to training and upskilling? I think it's Bangladesh or Mauritius, I can't remember the country now. There's a particular garment sector that they have. You know what they do? Because they have electricity challenge too. So, but they guarantee that that particular cluster gets 8-hour electricity. So if you are operating in that sector, you have 8-hour uninterrupted electricity. You do all your production, you package, and they are all export products, singlets, boxers, and all of those other things. And the economy is better for it. So it's a give and take thing that has to happen. Government must look at the weak among us and encourage them. And then you can move your taxation up the ladder to those that are living in affluence and being frivolous with their resources. And then take more taxes from them to cushion the way. Because the more you drag people out of poverty, the better for your economy and the better for your nation. Dragging people out of poverty reduces crime. Yes, it helps you with your security situation. It enables that people have money to do one or two other things to develop themselves. And then you have a healthy nation.
Fantastic. I saw Felix nodding to you while you were talking, so I want to find out exactly why he was nodding, and also in reaction to what you had said about removal of VAT. The federal government has waived valued-added tax on diesel for 6 months. The president mentioned it in his speech. Yeah, so your take?
Yeah, if they have done that, I give kudos to them.
For 6 months? For 6 months,
but it is not enough.
Aha.
6 months is not enough because what the program of this subsidy removal is not going to stop in 6 months' time, right? For as much, I want the government to take a bold step further to recommend that this VAT is removed pending the time the removal subsidy will be relaxed, right? And then, lest I forget, I want to also commend the Nigerian police.
Aha.
Yes, I want to commend them.
Why are we commending them?
Yes, you know, I looked at the way they handled Mohbad, may he so rest in peace, his candle night process, right? they applied that an organization applied that they want to have a candle night for Mohbad, right? And gradually, instead of them getting to Muri Okola to disperse, some of them went straight to the toll gate.
Okay, just to give some background to what you're saying, Mohbad is a late artist that died recently.
Okay.
The case is still under investigation. And that is not what we are discussing today. Okay. But it's part of good governance that we have security, right?
I'm going to corroborate everything.
Okay.
I'm going to corroborate. You know, if the police, most especially the IG and the present Commissioner of Police, if they had not tactically handle the situation, it would have degenerated into another crisis.
It would have become okay.
It would have become another NSAS. But they were so pragmatic, they only apply light weapon, tear gas.
Okay, so how are you tying this up to our topic?
Yes, that is what I'm now saying is this. We should have a security system that will not provoke the masses.
Okay.
Will not even last month, the state government should form a monitoring team that they may not even know those who are monitoring them. They should form it because they go in. They are doing most of their things excessively, right? The VIO, the KAI, you know, there is serious hardship in the country. So when you are applying your security measure, you should be very light, very friendly with the people. Don't just jump at them, carrying their markets or anyhow. You know what? Most of them suffered for this thing before they could get it into their shops. So we should apply soft measure when handling our security method or system. That is what that was why I corroborated it. That the way, look, Kai will just come. The last man will come. No, not just that.
I think I get your point.
Thank you.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but I get your point. Let me take it to you, Adebisi. You know, Felix talked about not planning for the removal of subsidy before it was done, and that resulted to, you know, the hardship Nigerians are currently facing. So why don't you speak to us to the culture of putting first things first? What should be on ground before policies are made?
Yes, for this particular subsidy thing, we must just appreciate that the new president took the bull by the horn. Over 90% of our resources were used to serve people. It is, you know, this is it's like a bullet we don't have to take. So the decision was made, and then of course the processes, initiating the processes become, you know, they are new. They are beginning to see the books. They are beginning to know whether we have resources or not, because I know that they themselves will not want crisis. And no new government really wants to have crisis so that they can legitimize themselves, they can run their program. But this particular subsidy thing had to go. And it was already gone anyway because it was not appropriated for. So they took the bull by the horn, but I think, in my opinion, their response to explaining to the public and trying to alleviate the pains were a little bit slow. I do not know why it is that slow. Maybe they are reviewing the whole thing. You know, they don't want to do all of the conditional transfer. You give somebody 10,000 naira, for instance, a market woman, and then she pays taxes of about 3,000 from 10,000. You gave her 10,000 in a month. The local government will come, the boys will come, the owner of the space will come, and all of this. Virtually, that 10,000 is not even doing anything. It's even a problem. You know, so maybe they are taking their time to say, okay, here we want to do something that's long term. I mean, this short term thing will not help because the pains will keep repeating itself. And so if they had been in government for like 2 years and then they took the decision without planning, then I can hold them accountable for that error. But they came in and they just had to say, look, there's no fund for this subsidy thing. We can't keep borrowing to subsidize, and it is going into different pockets that we do not know. So if they settle in, they plug the holes, who knows, maybe they will even bring back the subsidy when the system is properly managed, because government must subsidize energy at some point if it wants even industrialization. And so I am really very cautious about blaming them for putting what's the right thing. when is it the right time to take any decision? We need to do some things to move forward as a nation. This thing was dragging us down, and it was going to kill us. It was going to drown us as a nation. So taking the decision enabled us to breathe. And then you saw the response from the international community. They now said, okay, yes, we can then trust your economy to even want to bring our monies into it. So unfortunately, the pain is everywhere, but I just pray and hope that the quick wins they are doing will cushion it. And I know they're already planning something in the long term. I know that for sure. That when they begin to roll out those long-term benefits, we will have cause to rejoice and say, the pain was worth it.